Hello everyone and welcome to SpongeBob SquarePants Underpants Slam, a game previously deleted from existence, but it is now back, which is good for everyone who wanted to play it but never got the chance. The game was removed from stores in 2013, but it was recently brought back by THQ Nordic, so you should thank them for that. So, what is this game? Well, it was intended to be a party game 2D platformer / collectathon, and the idea was to collect as many underpants as possible while beating the underpants out of your competition. But we're going to be playing the one-player quest mode, as the game puts it. And in quest mode, the objective is simply to collect all 99 pairs of underpants in the level before time runs out. There are a few ways to find the underpants in question. The way you'll find them most often is by ground slamming and breaking open objects in the background. Any objects you can break will shine if you're unsure where they are for a certain period of time. There are only 99 pairs of underpants in the level, and you do need to collect all 99 pairs. So this is a collectathon and exploration focused game. The levels are small, but that does not change the fact that you need to explore every nook and cranny, just like it's one of your 3D collect-em-ups. The underpants do bounce around if they come out of breakable objects or you knock them out of jellyfish, but this is okay because even if the underpants fall off of a pit, they will then respawn in the level somewhere you can reach them. So there's no way to get soft locked. Aside from breaking objects to get underpants, blue jellyfish will sometimes be carrying underpants. All of the different colored jellyfish have different attributes. The blue jellyfish will run away from you, which is why they're the ones that occasionally carry underpants, so it's challenging. The red jellyfish are more aggressive, and the yellow jellyfish, well, they're just big. All three kinds of jellyfish will sometimes electrify themselves in an attempt to shock you. Their behavior is just what differs. You can destroy the jellyfish either with a karate chop or by ground slamming them. The level layouts are a very good mix between chaotic and cohesive. You can easily see this was meant to be a party game, but at the same time, the level layout is easy to memorize, and there are unique rooms and challenges that portray the source material quite well. Like, obviously, we're underneath the Krusty Krab down here. There's a boiler room, and there are steel girders and several moving platforms, which is quite different from the kitchen up above. The platforming is alright. It's intentionally a little bit slippery, and it will take getting used to. There is no double jump. In terms of platforming hazards in this Krusty Krab level, there really aren't any, but in the other two levels there are platforming hazards. You do have a limited amount of health, and if you lose all your health, you will lose the level. But the only way for us to be damaged currently is through jellyfish, because there are no pits in the Krusty Krab level. There are health pickups and various other pickups lying around, but they can just as easily hinder you as help you. Some of the pickups do things such as slow down your character or reverse your controls. Some of the power-ups make you invincible. Things such as that. Just pretty normal power-ups. If we use our attack enough times, we can fill up our special meter, which we can then use to attack enemies in a certain radius around us. Very useful for destroying any jellyfish carrying underpants. So, you're getting the basic idea of the game. It's to roam around these really small 2D levels and find all the underpants. And there are three ways to find underpants. They're in breakable objects, they are carried by jellyfish, and they are just lying around sometimes. The game is a little strange, and the structure and idea of the game took some getting used to. I got over halfway through the game before I really came to grips with what was going on and what the game expected of me. I don't know quite what I expected because there weren't a lot of gameplay videos on the internet. But yeah, it's a 2D collectathon. A very arcadey 2D collectathon where there's a time limit and the levels are very small. But as was already said, the levels are coherent in spite of them appearing chaotic simultaneously.
Don't look now, it's the Flying Dutchman ship. Get me out of here.
I'm gonna win! I'm gonna win!
3, 2, 1, go!
Okay, so now it's time to talk about the single-player mode's overall structure. How this game works is there are 3 levels, just 3, but the 3 levels are repeated 3 times, each time adding new platforming hazards and new jellyfish types. So what this means is you're basically playing the same set of levels 3 times, but the final set of levels are the only ones that are the real level, which is why we're only playing the final set of the 3 levels. In spite of the addition of new platforming hazards and more jellyfish, the actual layout of the levels is identical. So, the game structure is very strange to me. I feel like they should. I feel like if they only had 3 levels, they should, you know, just use the 3 levels. I get why they padded it out to 9 levels, but the levels are all laid out the same. They look pretty much identical, aside from the occasional added platforming hazard. So, you know, it's very obvious they were padding for single-player length. Calling it quest mode is also a little silly. Arcade mode might have been a bit better, because this game has no story to it, aside from collect all the underpants, and that's what you do in single-player mode, is collect all 99 pairs of underpants and explore the level entirely. Calling the single-player mode arcade mode also would have set expectations at a more reasonable level, because the game is very short. If you play all 3 sets of levels, it's about 40 minutes. If you play only the final set, which is all the real content in the game, it's only 15 minutes. Unfortunately, the game will not let you just skip to the final set of levels. You do have to play the 2 previous sets of levels, so you're going to be playing the same 3 levels 3 times in a row. And again, they do add new jellyfish and platforming hazards, but the layout is identical. So, I mean, if you're an adult, it's kind of obvious that they were padding, and it can be a little bit insulting. While we're on the subject of talking about the game as a whole, this isn't really important to the game design or the quality of the game, but there was a future SpongeBob game called SpongeBob's Boating Bash, which stole... Okay, stole is it? You know, I'm just going to keep calling it stole, which stole the music from this game. I'm sure they had the appropriate license to use it, but it's just weird, knowing where the SpongeBob Boating Bash music came from. If you're wondering, by the way, whether this game is challenging, the answer is kind of, yeah. I mean, the part where you have to search the entire level is probably the most challenging part, because you do have to find every single nook and cranny, and it's like a really small Metroidvania map. And you do have to chase down the blue jellyfish, which gets really difficult in later stages because the jellyfish start moving faster. And there is a learning curve. This game is weird, so it took me like the first 4 levels to get used to the idea of what this game wanted. But after I got used to the idea of what this game wanted, I only lost a level once. As long as you, like, thoroughly, methodically, you know, search every single section of the level, you'll be fine.
I'm the winner!
This place used to be the great lost city of Atlantis, but now it's been discovered. It's the great found city of Atlantis. Let's just hope it's still great.
We're hunting underpants!
3, 2, 1, go!
Welcome to the final level in the game, and it's time to talk about all the things we have not mentioned yet. There are multiple playable characters. There is SpongeBob, Patrick, Mr. Krabs, Sandy, and Plankton. The characters don't seem to have any noticeable difference in control, which is to be expected because this was intended as a party game, and the focus isn't really on the nuances of the character control or combat system. It's a fairly straightforward platformer where you either jump, ground slam, or karate chop, or whatever the other characters' equivalents of a karate chop are. The game's leaderboards are still functioning. If you want to play online or local multiplayer, that's still functioning. When THQ Nordic brought the game back, they made sure everything about the game still worked as intended. They left the original credits perfectly intact. It's as though the game just came out, basically. This game did come out in 2007, so some of the game design, the padding, the graphics may be a little bit more excusable in 2007. Personally, I think the graphics look fine. Standards for Xbox Live Arcade games were very different in 2007. So the idea of padding your game like this, especially if it's a party game, might have been more acceptable back then. I'm not quite sure. But I want to make it clear that what you're seeing right now in this video is effectively all of the single-player content in the game. The multiplayer content is a party game, seems to use the same levels, but I can't play multiplayer. So, you know, this is what the single-player content in the game has to offer. Do I find this game regrettable? No. That's mostly because it's weird. The structure and the idea of this game is just really bizarre. The idea of a 2D platformer collectathon, Metroidvania, where the levels are incredibly small and the mechanics are arcadey, that's very strange to me. It's a very strange kind of game. So I personally don't find the game regrettable. I can see how other people might because there's a sore lack of content. And in this case, the lack of content seems to primarily be because of budget and time constraints, because the game design could definitely support more levels. Like, the game design has enough potential for there to be more levels. I don't think they stopped at 3 levels because they ran out of ideas. I think they stopped at 3 levels because they had to. But yes, in this video, you're seeing all of the single-player content that matters. This is the game. So this is what you're getting if you want to play single player. I can't tell you exactly what the multiplayer is like because we only have one Xbox 360 controller because my siblings are not interested in the Xbox 360 in the slightest, and I purchased an Xbox 360 out of necessity. But that's pretty much all there is to say about SpongeBob Underpants Slam, which is good because this is the final level and it closes off all of the single player content in the game. It's weird. It's a very weird game. That much is for certain. So I don't personally regret it, because it's strange. But I can see why this would not be enough for other people. That is perfectly understandable.
Go, SpongeBob! Go, SpongeBob!
A fantastic performance by all. Well done.